And welcome to a semi-special Halloween edition of Archive Thrifting. Now, I admit, even though it's 99% garbage, I nonetheless really enjoy going out thrifting a bit more in that lead up to Halloween every year, just to see what the stores are rolling out. As such, I've been out thrifting a bit more again lately. If anything, I feel like I'm kind of getting back into the groove of it here. But anyway, over the last not quite month or so, I've managed to cobble together a fairly lengthy episode's worth of footage. So I've got footage from 4 stores to go over today, and anything else would just be needlessly dragging out this intro, so let's get right down to business. The St. Vincent de Paul store is looking a little holy today. Guess I ought to check it out. Right out of the gate, I found a whole stack of dubious-looking 8-tracks. Having said that, most of these have the actual hits on them. For example, I have a few of these custom tapes. While I have zero reason to believe they're custom made, they are the real thing, albeit in varying degrees of quality. Now, I know this is a knockoff. I've covered at least one of these Gusto Records Super Hits compilations on record ripoffs. Somebody played the wax right off of those records. But once again, this appears to be the actual hits. I like Wilson Pickett, I really do, but the survival rate of these Ampex tapes is pretty bad. I've owned a handful, and only 1 or 2 are still playable. At the very least, the rubber roller on this tape has turned to goo. If you can stick your fingernail into it and leave a dent in it, it's shot. And the tape is absolutely filthy as well. Now, I found an 8-cassette box set of various rock, pop, and R&B hits of the 50s and 60s and the stray early 70s tune. But the weird thing is, I found no record label or any other information on here. A lot of the songs are obscure enough that a knockoff or re-recording would be kind of pointless, so I'd imagine these are the real deal. Having said that, I already have most of those songs, so I don't need it. But anyway, it is truly an 80s kind of day in the CDs. We've got the soundtrack to Who's That Girl? Now, for whatever reason, I could have sworn most or all the songs were Madonna ones on this thing, but I guess I was wrong. I saw this movie years ago, and as best as I recall, it was adequate. But the real gem here is a definitive slice of 80s cheese, Wang Chung's Mosaic from 1986. You know, the one with Everybody Have Fun Tonight, plus Let's Go, making that their 2 biggest US hits. It's a little dirty, but there's no apparent damage. You know what? I'm getting this one. This is our only trip into any electronics section today, because they were really bad. This was the best of it, one of those kitchen radios that you attach to the underside of a cabinet, which has seen better days. That and a thoroughly mediocre Panasonic DVD player. And yes, I checked out the slide carousels, and if there were any slides, the store threw them out. A modest little haul from this store. 2 record rip-offs candidates, both on 8-track. The first one being either Rock Around Town or Top Pop Hits. Take your pick. This one's got a bit of an R&B bent to it. Then we've got the already mentioned Gusto Records Super Hits tape. Of course, it being Gusto Records, it's got a bit of a country bent to it. And lastly, a CD copy of Wang Chung's Mosaic album. And on to the first of 2 Goodwills today. Well, St. Vincent's didn't have any Halloween stuff, which doesn't surprise me. But as for this Goodwill, it's pretty much a random selection of crap. The only remotely interesting thing here was this Halloween box. Will I find a carcass or something cool in there? No, of course not. It's just an incomplete set of nesting boxes. Moving on. well, we're kind of in a mixed Halloween Thanksgiving mode here. Aww, it's the most adorable and courteous rabies spreader I've ever seen. I think I found this episode's thumbnail. Oh yeah, and I think somebody didn't understand how a skull chalice is supposed to work. Now, a little farther down the line, I found one of those ultra cheapy sound effects CDs. So cheap, it's just in a cardboard sleeve that the glue has worn off of. Even I thought this looked too lame. Crap, 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 crap. Shit, well, you know. Sums up how I feel about this selection. Well, you've heard of the California raisins, right? Well, we've got the South Dakota pumpkins. Just ain't the same. Well, somebody had to eat a whole lot of canned beets to make this arts and crafts project come to life. And I'm sure somebody far smarter than I am can explain the significance of the holes in those cans. Well, that's just cruel. Why would anyone want to slice up a perfectly good mandolin? I'm not joking. This was the entire vinyl selection in this store. I don't know if I'd call that model on the cover beautiful. Creepy, yes. And we've got a 10-incher from Buddy Cole playing his organ. That sounded dirty. And no relation to the Scott Thompson character. Yuck. Kids music, and more kids music, and more kids music, and more kids music, and more, and more, and more, and more. Okay, maybe that one's not a kiddie record, but it's close enough. Shay knew. Now, why would I want to hear a set of 7-inchers about the chorus to one of Yes's worst songs? Are you Jimmy Ray? Who wants to know? And that song should be stuck in your head for the next week. You're welcome. Anyway, they had this very early Gordon Lightfoot Greatest Hits. I've already got a 2-CD set from EMI that rounds up his early albums, so it's redundant to me. But aside from that, it's not looking too promising today. Now, just to show how god-awful my hand-eye coordination is, I was trying to pick up the Enough's Enough album, but I accidentally grabbed this one from the Donnas, who I've never cared for. I could just go listen to the Runaways. And some lame computer game, and finally the Enough's Enough album. I was never really a fan, but the fact that someone got a power pop group to masquerade as hair metal dudes has always kind of amused me. Anyway, pretty slim pickings in the cassettes today. We've got Aaron Neville's Big Lame Adult Contemporary album, but it was these homemade Hoyt Axton dubs that caught my attention, largely because they were so neatly and carefully done, and they probably sound pretty decent too. Having said that, I have original copies of most of these albums in some way, shape, or form already, and it looks like David Bromberg got the same treatment there. Now, I've already got this Nicolette Larson album on vinyl and CD. However, if it's an album I'm already really familiar with, I'll pick up the cassette. If the cassette's well done, they can make good reference tapes. So if this one's any good, it'll become one of those tapes I use to gauge the performance of a tape deck. And it's just a nice little record. A little more on the country end of the country rock equation, but it suits her well. This seemed interesting. Music Flex, Spark, Sizzle, and Step. Initially, I thought this would be a record ripoffs candidate, but it does appear to be original tunes used on an obscure exercise video. Found an Amazon listing for the video and everything. But as of my making this, no copies are available at any price. Aside from that, there's some bad 80s Christian albums down there. But I'm going to pick up this TDK blank here because cassettes are 3 for $1 or 99 cents each here, so at the very least it can be reused. Another modest haul, 3 tapes for $1. I picked up Nicolette Larson's Say When from 1985, Music Flex Spark, Sizzle, and Step from 1993, and A Probable Blank. And on to my most regularly visited Goodwill. Found a huge tub of random Halloween decorations, including some vintage McDonald's pails, like this one from 1986. Now, I'm probably going to tick off some of my viewership for saying this, but at this point, while I still seek them out, I only pick them up if they're complete with the lid and are in good shape. I found a total of 3 here. None of them are complete, nor are they in particularly good condition. The search continues. A nice healthy-looking VHS selection today. Now, this has got to be some great cosmic coincidence, but probably every other batch of off-air VHS or Betamax tapes I get have an airing or dub of La Cage aux Folles 2. Not the original. I think I only have more amateur copies of Flashdance. Aside from that, we've got an obvious nursing home activity room tape, apparently all about early cars and country roads. I'm sure it's perfectly fine, but I wouldn't call it VHS vault material. And underneath the 20 millionth unremarkable exercise tape I've ever found is The Making of an Archive Classic. However, since it is left behind, I'm gonna do just that. Ooh, possible off-air recording. Possibly from the 90s. And I'd be willing to bet that these are dubs. Holy moldy! Well, that's a definite no. In the records, we've got Sing with Tenneco, apparently featuring Marilyn Monroe. I'd much rather sing with Marilyn Monroe, if you get my drift. Otherwise, we've got an all too familiar name, QMO, or Quack's Mutating Oldies. Summer 76, recorded live by the sound effects, because we totally needed to hear even more mistakes left in. Now, it is in good shape. If nothing else, I can pass this one along to Sergey. It's pretty much the sort of stuff he plays anyway. Got a Ronco compilation here. Get It On, but alas, no gong banging. These Ronco albums have the actual hits, but like 70s K-Tel, they're usually pretty heavily edited and they jam too much stuff onto one LP. Aside from that, we've got the Korean Orphan Choir on tour. Believe it or not, I've already got a Korean kiddie choir record, and it could just as easily be any other kiddie choir. And we've got some prime 60s garage band rock here, but of course the LP is missing. And that would have been a definite yes from me, unless it was totally trashed. And I've just found my 1000th Pickwick knockoff compilation, Disco Dancin' Fever, which appears to be getting electrocuted. Then I found an educational album on ventriloquism. That could be interesting without any kind of visual or written material. And lastly, I found a probably stereotypical ethnic humor album. Ralph Wynn here seems to be channeling Artie Johnson on this back cover. Oh man, this looks so bad, I have to pick it up. I tell ya, it's just a cassette kinda day today. I found this clever bit of marketing from Sony, a microfine crystal gamma tape. It appears to just be normal old Type 1 ferric tape, and for the life of me, I can't tell one major brand blank cassette from another. And this was also a great day for tapes of dubious legality, like this copy of Juice Newton's Quiet Lies on 747 Records. To the best of my knowledge, 747 was a bootleg label based out of Saudi Arabia. I already have at least one other 747 tape, and the one I'm thinking of sounds awful. And for whatever reason, they added a couple of unrelated tracks from an unrelated artist into the middle of the album. And since it's coming up on the holidays, I guess I need to start considering more Christmas albums. But not this one. It appears to just be generic readings of all the most common Christmas tunes. Now, believe it or not, I've already got the full proper Joey Lawrence album. It's super stereotypical, generic, early 90s teen pop that could be performed by damn near anyone. But the winner of the bootleg sweepstakes has to be this DBX encoded copy of Rosanne Cash's 7-Year Ache, and whoever did this must have been a bit of a prude because they filled in Rosanne's very low-cut top. And they also have the songs out of order. And it's on basic Type 1 tape, with the record tab still intact. Damn right I'm picking this one up. And the haul from this store consists of that Sony Microfine Crystal Gamma tape. It must be awesome with a name like that. We've got Check Bass Volume 1. I'm hoping this is somebody's little jam session. We've got the Saudi Arabian bootleg of Juice Newton's Quiet Lies. Below that, we've got a rather limp-looking album from one James Hirsch, who I thought was near local, but turns out he's from suburban Minneapolis. We've got our prudish DBX encoded bootleg of Rosanne Cash's 7-Year Ache. We've got Shawati Wadi's Greatest Hits. I'd never heard of them prior to this. It just looked bad, but it turns out they're the British equivalent to Sha Na Na. Then we've got 4 LPs, Summer 76, Disco Dancin' Fever. Then we've got Jimmy Nelson's Instant Ventriloquism. And lastly, an autographed copy of Ralph Wynn's Ethnic Laughs. Somehow the new Savers sign looks even more ratty than the old one. I don't know, I guess it might have paid to maybe paint first. Okay, is this tin can thing some sort of trend that I missed? Suddenly I'm seeing them everywhere. It doesn't look like Halloween. It just looks like somebody spray painted a soup can. I know, Little Pumpkin. I'm feeling a bit down from this too. Managed to hit the jackpot of cheap compilation albums. Chief among them was this now record ripoffs candidate, Hits from the 80s, by way of the ever-dreaded Countdown Singers. Don't we all need to hear Marvin Gaye's last hit mangled by these people? Well, we're back to the original artists, just by way of some cruddy latter-day live versions. Now, this 70s generation disc looked a little dubious. And sure enough, there is no original label information, just some no-name Canadian company. And in the fine print, we see the dreaded, re-recorded by the original artist. Yick. This highway rock compilation appears to be original songs, but I've got all these songs already, and ditto for that surf rock one. Now, these 1980 fill-in-the-blank rock albums aren't bad, though the ones here are all inexplicably missing their rear artwork. These things are usually good for a few deep cuts, but again, nothing that I don't already have, so I'll leave it for someone else. Found a couple of semi-interesting titles in the VHS section, one being this little bit of a hazy, distant memory of mine. Jerry Lee Lewis, I Am What I Am. I remember seeing this documentary a long time ago. Rock legend or not, I kinda wish I hadn't. This copy, while still sealed, was water damaged. If I really wanted to see that one again, it's on DVD now. And of course, every time I see the Vestron Video logo, or any number of other cheap 80s distributors, I gotta check it out. So this one is Slumber Party 57, which appears to be a teeny bit sleazy. Somebody send this one to Brad Jones. Ooh, some Sega Genesis cartridges. And I've said it before, I've still got my copy of Sonic 2 that came with my Genesis back in '93. Aside from that, it's sports titles. Unless it's NBA Jam, I hate sports titles. Blech. There's some boxed Genesis games here as well. And you guessed it, they're all sports titles. Now, I did find one stray loose Super Nintendo cart, and it's one I've been looking for, Super Mario World. For $18? I could fleabay this for less than that. That's a no. Ladies and gentlemen, the first Betamax anything I've seen since moving to South Dakota. We've got Judy Garland in concert. We've got Rock and Roll, the early days. We've got The Country Girl with Bing Crosby, still sealed no less. And of course, the We Are the World music video / making of, which has got to be one of the most common beta tapes out there. And hey, wait, $4? Why are the VHS tapes only $1, but beta tapes are $3 to $4? That's discrimination, I tell ya. Anyway, given that Halloween's on the horizon, Savers weeded out all their spooky DVDs and VHS tapes and gave them their own display. So here's a copy of Witch's Night Out, a very, very trippy late 70s animated TV special. I could have sworn I already had this, but I don't. And when I came back to grab it, it was gone, of course. Also found a very nice looking original copy of Ghostbusters 2. So close. Aside from that, a copy of Horror Hotel, aka City of the Dead. But unfortunately, it's a latter-day EP mode copy. Aside from that, I found Lumpkin the Pumpkin. This one's on YouTube, and well, you can draw your own conclusions, but my take is that Halloween and Bobby Goldsboro should never cross paths. Aside from that, we've got a very late period copy of Night of the Living Dead. If I were to pick this one up on VHS, I'd like it to be an early issue, ideally the media issue from the late 70s, early 80s. And for whatever reason, they decided this tape was worth 3 times more than the other ones. And the haul from this store consists of Hits from the 80s by the Countdown Singers. This one's going into the record ripoffs candidate pile. And yes, despite being overpriced, I still picked up 2 of the beta tapes, Rock and Roll the Early Days and We Are the World, because no 80s music video collection would be complete without that one. Well, it's not my most impressive haul, but given how this year is gone, I ain't complaining. Anyway, the haul for this episode consists of 4 vinyl records, 2 of which are record ripoffs candidates, Summer 76 and Disco Dancin' Fever. We've got an educational album on ventriloquism, and a rather stereotype-heavy looking comedy album from Ralph Wynn. Then we've got a total of 9 audio cassettes, some of dubious legality, some probable blanks, some probable crap, and at least 1 gem. Then we've got 2 Betamax tapes, because it'd still be far more expensive to fleabay them, and I think the Oddity archive guy is legally required to own a copy of We Are the World. Then we've got 2 record ripoffs candidates on 8-track, both of which are going to need some repair. I am so not looking forward to that. And lastly, we've got 2 overwhelmingly 80s CDs, another record ripoffs candidate, and a copy of Wang Chung's Mosaic, simply because I can. And the cost of this episode's haul came out to about $14, half of which was just for the beta tapes. And otherwise, that is it for this installment of Archive Thrifting. And yes, Archive Land is totally gonna Wang Chung tonight.
Confucius say, man who lay girl on hill, not on level. Confucius say, boy who go to bed with problem, wake up with solution in hand. Confucius say, girl who syringe with vinegar, walk around with sour puss. Confucius say, woman who put rooster in freezer, have frozen cock.